Warning, I upload this video only for historic reasons. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this video do not necessarily reflect this YouTube channel view, thoughts, and opinions. The views expressed do not necessarily represent mine and may be considered offensive, inappropriate, or inaccurate.
Presley, who started his meteoric rise in his late teens, revolutionized the music business with his style of rock and roll. He made his mark not only in music, but in the movies as well. He turned in 25 films, and all of them made money. And we remember him with such scenes as these from Double Trouble, one of his movies.
Could I fall in love on a night like tonight? That's what I'd like to know. When I hold you tight. Now that we're alone, just a kiss apart, just a kiss apart. I have the answer from the feeling in my heart. Could I fall in love and forever be true? My heart tells me I could if I fell for you.
You know, in circumstances that are strange but true, just this morning I happened to be watching Good Morning America, and Rona Barrett came on, and at the time she was talking about a new book. It's called Elvis, What Happened? And she revealed in her report on that book that Elvis had become involved in drugs, from Quaaludes to cocaine, and Rona is with us now. I understand that the latest reports have it that the police in Memphis are conducting an investigation saying that there is now the possibility that he might have died of a drug overdose.
Yes, we were speaking with the police just a little while ago, Chuck, and they said that as a result of our report this morning, it led them to believe that perhaps something other than a heart attack led to that heart attack, and they do believe it was a drug overdose, as I do believe too.
Well, you know, Elvis was such a mysterious figure, his private life. I guess there could be a comparison between Elvis Presley and Howard Hughes in that respect.
Well, they were kind of reclusive in different ways, and of course, as you well know, Howard Hughes was also discovered to have been taking drugs, but his drugs were for arthritis and for other physical ailments. Elvis was not well in the last few years. I think we all knew it. Much of it had a great deal to do with his personal life. Much of it had to do with the change in the music business, his career taking a tumble, and then, of course, his resurgence again. But when your whole life is built up around a career and a music business, and you sort of have nothing left, and you live in an unreal world where you are constantly surrounded by what we call the Memphis Mafia, a number of bodyguards who constantly protected him morning, noon, and night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You live in an unreal society, and you cannot cope with life as it really is, and eventually somebody triggers you off with one little thing, and if you have that weak kind of personality, which Elvis really did, you sometimes can become a goner.
Rona, he was 42 years old.
Yes,
and
he was.
You think of people starting on drugs a little earlier than that. If they're going to be using drugs, isn't he? I mean, that's middle years. Am I being naive?
Yeah, he did, Ann.
Did he?
He started much earlier. He started, it began with Dexedrine when he was in the Army. And then it increased to heavier usage of all kinds of drugs in the more recent years.
This came as such a surprise to me. I don't know, did anybody else have any inkling that the man was ill or was having problems?
Chuck, they certainly were. People who were covering the entertainment industry and the record industry and Elvis's performance in Las Vegas were very aware that something was wrong. But there are many people who are frightened to speak out against drugs because drugs seem to be controlled by elements that we are often told to stay away from. And I think that there have been many reporters, unfortunately, in the United States who have been derelict in their duties in truly going after one of the major killers in our society today, drugs. And drugs, in my opinion, in the final analysis, will have been the real cause of Elvis's death.
Certainly have taken a lot of the lives of some of our biggest stars, and our heroes and our heroines have died of drug overdoses.
Yes, but they have also taken the lives of many other famous people and not so many famous people that you don't hear about.
Rona, what about, we've heard a lot about that he would gain considerable weight and that his performances weren't up to par. Is this all part of it?
Very accurate. I remember when he made his comeback in Las Vegas at the Hilton. The night that he made the comeback, however, he was so brilliant, Chuck, I cannot possibly describe to you that brilliance. He was the old Elvis as we once knew him back in the late 50s and in the early 60s, when he was really at the top of the heap, when he was the king of the rock and roll industry, of the music business, of the whole entire entertainment world. And then suddenly, shortly after his divorce from Priscilla, his world collapsed.
Did that do it? Was it the divorce that hit him so hard?
It contributed. It definitely contributed.
What has been the reaction from others?
It's been so devastating that my ears right now, I feel like they're like cauliflowers. The phones have not stopped ringing since early this afternoon when it was made official that Elvis had died. From around the country, entertainers, I have spoken with at least about 15 of them, and they're just in a state of shock. I mean, they are as shocked as they were over Freddie Prinze's death, and maybe even more so.
Was he working on a film or anything like this at the time, or was he going back out on tour?
No, he was at Graceland when he died. He was attempting to go back out on tour, but nothing was very concrete at this particular time. Elvis was very erratic right now. In the last few appearances in Las Vegas, he would walk on stage, he would behave very peculiarly, and he'd walk right off and he'd shout profanities at his audience, and they picked up and walked out, and they were very angry with him, and they didn't understand why, and of course no one could really tell why. I mean, we tried, those who reviewed tried to allude to what was happening, but it was dangerous. It was dangerous to come out and say, Elvis Presley is a drug addict and he needs help. Will somebody please help him, and will he help himself?
What about all the people who worked for him and with him?
Will they come out now?
Watch Good Morning America tomorrow.
Okay. And one final question here before we go. Do we know anything about the funeral arrangements, or what's going to be handled? Will it be back there in Tennessee or here?
I believe it will be back in Memphis. That's all I can tell you at this moment, but I do not have the specific details at this hour. I probably will before the end of the evening is over.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rona, for coming by, and a very busy schedule, I know. Coming up next.